Okay, welcome back. Let's do this. So today we're going to do a brief exercise just to help get our fingers soloing better, riffing better, and just increasing our dexterity. So it's simple. Use a pick or use your thumb, whichever you prefer. So take that pick, and what we're going to do is we're going to play on the top string, and all we're going to do is, so we're putting one finger for each fret, so index on first, middle on second, ring on third, and pinky on fourth. And then we're going to move it. So we're going to play open, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you should do with the right hand is alternate. So down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay? And then we're going to shift this by one fret and begin with the index. So here, and continue. Just like that, okay? So that's how it's going to go. Let's give it a try, and let's try to go all the way up the neck. So to 12. And at 12 we can stop because most of you are going to have this body style where it's very difficult to go beyond the 12th fret. So we'll just stop there. And we'll continue on going down. So down is a little trickier. We're going to be going. So one finger releases at a time. Then you have to slide and put the pinky back down. And try to do that cleanly if you can. And if you're a sloppy guitarist like I am, then you're going to have to really focus on your fingertips and try to make this clean. And try to do it without that pause in between. So notice I'm hitting the same note twice because my ring finger was just a little bit too far over. So I got to make sure that that ring finger is correct and each finger is in its own fret position. Oh God, I got to do it again, right? Do it until it's clean. Nope. Almost, right? And try not to get frustrated because it will happen when you're trying to get your body to do something that maybe hasn't done in a long time or ever before. Notice it's the same sounding note because my ring finger is not in the correct position. It needs to move down. So make little notes of that. As you play, make notes of what the mistake is, where the mistakes lie. So now think about where that ring finger ends up. Then try again. In that case, my pinky wasn't using the tip, so come around in front of the guitar a little more. Then try to clean it up. And I'm still getting buzzing, so I'm going to really focus. Almost, right? Almost perfect. But that's the kind of practice you want to get yourself into. And when you start getting frustrated, relax and remind yourself that it doesn't really matter. All the failure is success. Again, all the failure is success. So it's a great warm-up. You can do it on all strings, and that will give you a sense of how thick each string is because they're very different, and that will obviously change how your pressure works. So on the highest string, the E string down at the bottom, first of all, you need to turn your hand a little bit more because you're no longer at the top. So, okay. And you don't require as much pressure for this. But you want to get used to each string. And when you really want to challenge yourself, you can go not just up one string, but you can go one string and then go down to the next one, next one, next one. And then you can move up by one fret and continue, maybe going backwards. Try to fix that first note. still hear that little buzz, that little buzz? Fix it. More fingertip. Still hearing it? More fingertip. And that's much better, right? So use the fingertip, focus your mind, your actual brain power on sending the electrical signal directly to the fingertip. You want to zap your guitar with the fingertips. If you're focusing too much on the hand overall, like maybe the thicker part of your finger or your fingertip, really try to make it a pinpoint, like imagine a little ball was stuck into your fingertip, and that's the ball that you want to focus on. It's that little point particle that you want putting the force down onto the string, okay? Not the whole finger itself, not like, oh, I'm gonna mash my guitar now. No, save that for potatoes. Okay, so that's your warm-up. Do that anywhere you want. It doesn't really matter to me. As long as you're getting your fingers ready to go and you're getting dexterity out of it. Okay, so that is warm-up for part 1. And now we're going to move on to the next segment, which I'm excited about. I've made a master graphic for you. So brief pause here and we will start back up with the master graphic in hand. Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to dive into the master graphic portion. So I made this graphic for us, and it has some stuff on it, and I'm going to go down piece by piece, window by window, and talk about them. So on the top left, you'll see string intervals. I'm going to talk about the naturally occurring intervals on the guitar, so the standard tuning intervals. For example, from the E to the A string, from the E to the D string, E to the G string, and B, and so on. And I'll break those down for you. Then I'll get into the chord qualities, so talking about that bar shape and how to arrange your fingers to go easily and quickly from major to minor or to diminished and augmented. This might be your first experience with the diminished or the augmented chords, and that's good. It's good to know these chords. We don't use them very often, but I think we should. Seventh chords, same thing. I'm going to talk about the bar position and how you can arrange your fingers to achieve all 6 variations of the 7th chords. So that's major, major 7, minor, minor 7, dominant 7, minor, major 7, which is the most unusual, half diminished 7, and the fully diminished 7th chord. Then we're going to talk about the caged positions, also in the bar form. So we're going to talk about how you can take one shape, whether it's C, A, G, E, or D, and move it up and down the fretboard along the neck and play the exact same thing. 5 different positions, same exact chord. And lastly, we're just going to talk about some terms. Actually, let's just start with the terms. So let's bleed right into that. Quick recap, a root. So when I say the root, I'm not talking about trees, I'm not talking about plants, much to the chagrin of you herbologists. I'm talking about the primary note of a chord or a scale. So every time, in fact, let me go back over here. Let me kill the camera for you. So a root note is the primary note of the chord or of the scale. Let's take, for example, a C major scale. Well, C is the name, major is the quality, and the rest of it kind of falls into place. So we go root note C, and we build upon that. Next, a note. What the heck is a note? Well, it's just a single tone. A chord is more than one tone. And now on to some more interesting words, some new stuff to prepare you for the next class. Accelerando is when you move faster. Who would have thought? Accelerate. Ritardando is when you play slower. Crescendo is when you play louder to some kind of emotional apex moment, the zenith. And decrescendo is when you bring it from the high volume, high dynamic to low, so quieter. And lastly, I'm going to talk about attack. So attack is how your right hand strikes the strings. So whenever you focus on dynamics, you're probably going to focus on the attack on the strings, meaning how hard you're hitting. Okay, so that's the terms. And now let's get into string intervals. Starting with that top string. So the top string, as you know, is E. And we're going to call that the root. So again, the root is the primary note of the chord or the scale. We're going to take the E note, the top string. And what we want to do is familiarize ourselves with the distances between each string. So we're going to hop from the E string down to the A string. talk about what that interval is called. It's really important to understand and remember what that distance is. It helps you later on. That distance is called a perfect fourth. If you want to write that as 4, P4, perfect 4, I don't care. You pick the 4 that you like. But that distance is a perfect fourth, going up in pitch. Same thing applies from the A to the D string. Now there's one special string in there where this doesn't work, and you might recall which one it is. But let's go back to that E string. Let's say we want to jump from the E string down to the D string. So from this guy down to this guy. What is that distance? It's going to be different than E to A. E to D is called a 7. So hang on, pop the brakes. You're saying that this is a perfect 4 and that this is a 7. But how do you get those numbers? Well, again, you pick your root note. In this case, it's E. And we'll call E 1. It's the primary note, number 1. It's the first one. If you use the musical alphabet and you fill in 6 more, you've got your numbers. So E is 1. And continue down the English alphabet. F, G, A, B, C is 6, and D is 7, right? That's how I got the number 7. Now there are 2 kinds of 7s. There's a major one and a minor one. The major one brings you very close to the E again. It brings you very close to the octave. It's just one step away from the octave. The minor is 1/2 step below that. So it brings you closer to the 6. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me repeat. From your E to D is a 7. The distance between E and D is a minor 7 because D has a sharp right here. And that's almost E. That's what we call the octave, oct for 8. So E to E is 8 notes. E to D is 7. And because it's D and not D sharp, we call it minor. If we wanted to play major, we would have to play that D sharp. Okay. E to G, the top string to the 4th string down. Remember that musical alphabet we just made. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is G? G's 3, right? E, 1, F, 2, G, 3. Okay, so E string to G string is going to be some kind of third interval, some third distance. In this case, it's minor. G has G sharp. If I played G sharp instead, that would be what we call major third. But note, they're both, no pun intended, some kind of G. When you hear E to G sharp, which would be major, what I hear is 3 blind mice. So, 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice is what I hear. But the minor is like a, 3 deaf, dumb, and blind mice. So it's a little sadder. Okay, so E to G, minor third. And the last one we really need to learn is E to B. Take that alphabet again and let's go. E, 1, F, 2, G, 3, A, 4, and B is 5. So it's going to be some kind of 5 from E to B. In this case, we're calling it a perfect 5th, very much like the 4th. From E to A was a perfect 4th, and from E to B is a perfect 5th. I believe the reason why they use the words perfect or major is to signify some kind of harmonic balance. So perfect just means it's harmonious, it's natural sounding, it seems to work well when played at the same time. Okay, the last string is a unison note. In other words, it's the same thing. So E on the top is the same as E on the bottom. It's just 2 octaves separating them. Otherwise, it's still an E note. Okay, so that's string intervals with standard tuning. Let's move on to chord qualities with the bar shape. So remember that the bar uses that left-hand index finger, unless you're the unicorn left-hander in the class. Chances of that are like 0.1%. Anyway, so we're going to play this on the C position. And when I say C position, I mean your index finger bar is going to be on the 8th fret. And the reason why I know that is C is because this top string here on the 8th fret position is a C note. So this right here is a C note. Okay? Now, we got to talk about the quality of the chord. The quality means major, minor, diminished, or augmented. And quality is very much a music theory term as well as an emotional term. When you hear the quality of this chord, there's going to be a quality to your reaction and the way that it influences your brain. To me, unless I'm crazy or something, that sounds happy or cheerful or joyous or, I don't know, positive maybe. It's like bright sunny day. Like, it's completely subjective. You might hear doom and gloom with that chord, and after a while maybe it would become doom and gloom because of how monotonous it can be. But anyway, you've got this major chord, but what makes it major? That's where the ratio of half steps comes in. So very carefully, we can look at how many steps separate each of the notes in the chord. If you look at this C chord, the 3 notes in the triad are C, E, G. Now we have 6 strings. They're just copying, they're repeating a couple of those notes. But the only 3 notes we're hearing are C, E, or G. So we want to know the distance between C and E. If we go back to the string intervals, right? And if we go back to the video from last class, we can actually measure the distances between the notes inside our chord. And those distances give rise to the quality. So in this case, we have C to E, and the amount of half steps is 4. Then from E to G, the amount of half steps is 3. You can test this out if you like. So on this C position here, the 8th fret of the E string, you can walk your way up through the frets until you get to the notes, and that way you know for sure. So let's just do it. Here's 8 with C, and we need to go 4 half steps to get to E, right? Let's just double check, make sure that's right. C sharp, D, D sharp, E. That's 4 frets up, 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, that's that 3 blind mice sound. Or Epona song from Legend of Zelda, or something like that. I'm sure you've heard these little folk tunes before in your life somewhere. So that's 4 half steps. Then from the E note, we need to play some kind of G, right? So we're going to go from this note to G. Here's E, F, F sharp, and G. This time it's only 3 half steps. It's 3 frets up. And because of that, it's a minor third interval. Or we can say 3 half steps, right? So, from C to E, 4. And from E to G, 3. That's why I've written in this graphic 4 to 3. That's the ratio for major. With minor, you're just inverting that ratio. So the first few notes are going to be 3 steps. So C to E would be 4. C to E flat would give us 3. And that's the sad blind mice, the deaf, dumb, and blind mice. So that's how you distinguish between major and minor, the ratio of notes in between. Diminished might be new for you, and it's not complicated. We take the minor ratio, and instead of going 3 to 4, we go 3 to 3. So we drop that fifth. Let's work it out though, step by step. Go into that major form, 8th fret, and for this I'm using the E major shape to produce that. So the tab would read 8, 10, 10, 9, 8, 8. Just as you see on the graphic. And that gives us a major chord. Now to make this minor, we're going to take our middle finger off of the guitar. Simple as that. Major with the middle finger, minor without. Now to make it diminished, we actually have to drop a couple things. We have to drop, That's diminished. That's the sound of diminished. Augmented is where you lift the fifth. So for that, you can go back to your major chord shape. And all you're going to do is lift up your, you're going to invert these fingers. Ring finger goes there, pinky goes there. So let's play them in sequence. Major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Let's move on to 7th chords with the bar. We're going to stay on the 8th fret with C. And if we take that major position again, we're going to add the 7th note in the scale. If C is number 1, you can do the alphabet yourself and get to 7, right? It's going to be B. So C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. B would be 7. So we need to add some kind of B to all of these because a 7th chord is simply saying take your triad, C, E, G, and add the 7th note in the scale to it, which would be B. Now we're going to modify the crap out of that B. We're going to play with it and see what we can do. And we're also going to change the quality of the underlying chord, the triad. So we're going to change C, E, and G. And you'll start to discover the magic of the 7th chords. Okay. Let's take our major quality triad. C major with the bar position. 8, 10, 10, 9, 8, 8. To make this into a major, major 7, or as I've written here, a delta 7. So this is the position for major, major 7. We call it major, major because we have a major triad underneath. So a C major, a major third on top. That major third interval, or 4 half steps, is the B natural. We play the B natural on this string right here. So this D string on the 9th fret, that little adjustment gave us that B note. Okay, now let's do minor, minor. So take our C minor position, it's without your middle finger, and we're going to remove our pinky. Very easy shape to play. Again, this is minor, minor. The ratio is 3 to 4 to 3. So it's a minor chord with a minor third on top, or 3 half steps. Let's break that down a little more. In this case of C minor, we're actually playing C, E flat, and G. Now think about that G for a second. here's G. How many steps to B is that? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 steps to B. So that would be major third. 3 blind mice. To make that into minor, we needed to go 3 half steps up. So that note right there is B flat. And that's what we're adding to this chord. So when we play the minor minor 7, we're playing C, E flat, G, and B flat on the top. Let's get on to the blues chord, the blues 7th, the major minor. Take your major shape, 8, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8. Oh, excuse me, 8, 10, 10, 9, 8, 8. And we're doing a slight variation here. We're taking the pinky off only. And that is going to make the ratio 4 to 3 to 3. So major triad underneath with B flat on top. So that's 8, 10, 8, 9, 8, 8. C, E, G, and B flat. Now for the most unusual, minor, major. This ratio is 3 to 4 to 4. So it's a minor chord with a 4 half step interval above that. So first let's take our minor shape here. And now we need to somehow add that B to the top. Well, remember that was right there. So this is what the shape looks like. 8, 10, 9, 8, 8, 8. It's like Transylvania. It's a very strange chord, right? So that's minor, major 7. Next is half diminished. For half diminished, we're going to take our minor shape to start, and we're going to now make this into a diminished triad. So we're dropping down that note that should have been the 5th. We're dropping that down. And then we need to play on the B string, the 11th fret. And that's half diminished. For fully diminished, we're going to go 3 to 3 to 3. So that shape looks a lot like the minor shape, but we need to diminish it and drop down that B string. Moving on. Let's look at the caged positions. So these are the exciting ones because you can move them around the guitar anywhere you like. When I use the at symbol, I mean that's where the fret position is going to be barred. Or you can think of it as that's where this shape kind of begins for your hand. Okay, let's start with the C chord. We're going to play the C chord using the C shape, the A shape, the G shape, the E shape, and the D shape. Again, we're going to play a C major chord using the C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, and D shape. Let's start with that C open chord. Okay, there's C because we're using the C shape and it's open. The tab would be 0, 3, 2, 0, 1, 0. Now we're going to play C major using the A shape. So we're going to go into our A shape here, and we're going to slide up until we're on the 3rd fret with our bar. And it's also C major. So now the tab is 3, 3, 5, 5, 5, 3. So here's C major here. And here's with the A shape. Now we're going to play C major using the G shape. So this is the G shape, right? But I'm going to play it with my bar ready to go. And I'm going to slide up until that bar is on the 5th fret. So That's also C major. First the C open, bar on 3 with the A shape, and 5th fret position with that G shape. Next we're going to use the E shape, which we just did, and we're going to do that with the 8th fret. Oops, excuse me, 8th fret. Not B flat. So there's C major at the 8th fret position. Again, C open, 3rd fret with the A shape, G shape on the 5th fret bar, and E shape on the 8th fret position. The last one is using the D shape at the 10th fret. So we're going to bar at the 10th fret, and then we're going to have to stretch out and use our D shape here. We don't really want to include that top string because that's not part of the chord, so we should skip that. So that tab would read X, 10, 10, 12, 13, 12. So let's play them in succession. First the open C, A shape at the 3rd fret bar, G shape at the 5th fret bar, 8th fret with the E shape, and 10th fret with that D shape. Skipping that top string. It's a great workout for your fingers, great workout for your hand and wrist. And when you get faster and faster, you can start playing all kinds of different chords using all of these shapes. Okay.